whether or not you can get credible downloads. It's about whether or not you can take pictures from sky vacuums. You can't. They aren't real. Anybody just pick up on the fact that we've just debunked the entire moon landing? Schlat.
One of the things I will say is NASA.gov has their own documents out there that we get to vet, which is through the Freedom of Information Act. And would you agree that NASA documents...
Sorry, documents? Isn't this a science discussion? What are we now? Clerics? Why are we looking at documents? Does it matter what NASA file? NASA are claimed to be in a sky vacuum. Yeah, taking place in Narnia right now is NASA information. Now, it's not really happening in Narnia. It's happening in some studio somewhere in the States. That's where it's actually happening. They're filming it in a studio. They claim that studio is flying around in a presupposed orbital motion in a second law of thermodynamics violation sky vacuum. If the sky was a vacuum to give NASA the ability to be in a place that they'd need to produce documents about, then we'd all be dead. So who cares what their bloody documents say? The sky is not a vacuum, it's a second law of thermodynamics violation. Not that that's science, it's natural law. But that natural law debunks anything NASA have to say about anything. I couldn't give a crap what they've filed or what you've got with freedom of information. When they're in a sky vacuum... Yeah, get a grip, love.
If they're on display, that we should be able to go and research inside there.
NASA is not proving that the Earth is flat.
NASA's not proving that the Earth is flat. Yeah, they are. In those documents that I've just moaned about or talking about, they detail how we utilise a flat plane in many of those documents. So while you might come back and say NASA aren't proving a flat Earth, well, they detail how they utilise it quite a lot. Flat and stationary, according to NASA. It's just a fact. That's what they're documenting. Whether or not this chick highlights that useless argument when they're in a sky vacuum is irrelevant. They're in a sky vacuum! They're not doing anything up in a sky vacuum. So every claim they have, bar none, that comes from that region, Narnia, I mean space, outer space, is fake. None of this is relevant or pertinent to debunking NASA's claims. There's no need to talk about anything they do or document or present as footage. The stuff in the studio is not worthy of my time.
Well, they say it in 14 of the documents.
You should read what NASA says, and you should...
Really? What about establishing cause and effect reasoning with systematic experimentation based on hypothesis? Should we read and listen what NASA say? No, I don't care what they say. Especially in a science discussion. I care what they have in terms of empirical data. That would be scientific data. What was that? This is a science discussion. Go on.
She's already appealed to NASA as an authority. She's put herself in a bad situation.
Yeah, right on.
You should listen to what
I
NASA
would
says.
love to see your NASA evidence that the Earth is
it's
flat.
only...
I just covered it, by the way, in case you want to go and check it out. Taboo Conspiracy 2 has got a video that's about 20 minutes long, where he just puts one after the next NASA document saying Earth's flat. I mean, I don't know how else I can phrase that, but that's how it is. The reason they detail it as flat is because if the Earth was falling away 8 inches per mile squared, and you were in an aeroplane flying above the ground, then according to that claim, you've got a vast void opening up ahead of you. So if you head towards that void and it's actually a flat plane, then you're going to smash into the ground because there isn't a void opening up ahead of you at 8 inches per mile squared. It's a nonsense. Hence, you must deal with Earth as flat or you'll crash into the ground. That's why they very specifically detail it as flat in their documents. Now, I'm not going to use that as a flat Earth proof. I'm going to use the fact that when navigating, you have to measure and navigate a flat plane. The maps are flat for a reason. They only work with elevation angle measurements if they're flat. And as for them coming from global projections, those global projections were made from a celestial sphere model that's flat. So if you want proof, I can provide it. If you want NASA documents that say it's flat, I can provide those too.
Nathan,
yes.
Do you know what's so ironic about this?
What?
Do you know who that guy is? Do you recognize him?
Oh, it's Tony. No, I don't know who he is.
He's the guy that proved that the horizon wasn't geometric.
Oh,
In the
that's BL.
National
You're saying this is
Geographic and
BLMSB
CFI
69?
investigator.
Is that BLMSB 69?
No, 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 no. The guy from Nat Geo and CFI investigators, that's the guy saying they put the camera to the water level when they were shooting that flag over the lake.
Oh, okay.
They're
You don't recall what I'm
contradictory.
saying? Like the stripes on the boat, the
Yeah,
flag,
you're
the
talking about National
flags.
Geographic going out and seeing a black swan. Here, look at how the flag disappears. What about the horizon that's supposed to be Earth curve behind it? Yeah, that's a black swan.
So that's that guy.
Okay.
Nice one, Eli.
Okay. And?
What do you mean,
And
man?
Yeah.
I don't think you
and?
get it. I really don't think you get it.
This guy's claiming to be science. He goes to the Nat Geo thing, as Eli's saying, and he's saying, look, there's the Earth curve. But the Earth curve is the horizon, and it's behind that flag thing. What kind of science guy says that kind of stupid stuff?
Gotcha. What you're saying is this guy's witnessed a black swan with the horizon beyond the geometric limitations he's claiming are compressing the flag. And here he is again on a very mainstream channel with 7.5 million subscribers doing an absolutely useless job and claiming things that we can debunk daily. So he's a regular. You're saying he's like the mainstream equivalent of Gem Panda?
Exactly.
May I comment just so far? So far, they have hijacked the term and word science and used it a lot. They haven't shown one bit of it yet.
Yeah, there's been no science discussed yet. The closest we got was when the guy used the word phenomenon. That's the closest we've got.
Issues
Okay,
that
let's
bring
see.
us here.
We're all familiar with the Earthrise photo, right? The Earth is rising over the moon. We're all familiar.
No. That was claimed to be taken from a second law of thermodynamics violation sky vacuum, where the astronauts claimed to be walking on the moon had to protect themselves with suits from the sky vacuum so that the gas inside their suits didn't vacate and fill the space. Now check out this picture. That's a black area that the guys on the moon claim to be standing on the moon have got to protect themselves from. They don't want the gas inside their, what do they call them? Astronaut suits, space suits. They don't want the gas to expand outwards into this vacuum, this black area. Now look back, even at this distance that they claim Earth is, and say, is that clouds that I see next to a 10 to the minus 17 torr vacuum? Don't high-pressure clouds expand in all directions to fill whatever availability of volume they've got if there was a low-pressure system, aka a vacuum, 10 to the minus 17 torr next to them? I'm pretty sure I know what happens when you put any gas next to a vacuum. It expands into it immediately. That's what gas does. So you're telling me that we've got this gas just happily sat next to a vacuum? No, that's a second law of thermodynamics violation. The gas would fill the space. All of this gas on this bullshit picture from a second law of thermodynamics violation sky vacuum would fill this area instantly. It wouldn't develop pressure. What's it pressing on? The vacuum? No, it would expand into the vacuum. It'd all be dead if this was a real image. So I don't know why we're being shown this. We've already debunked it. And had this been our conversation with these people, we'd point out that why would you expect this to be a real photo taken from a place that isn't real? You can't take pictures from Narnia. This is a second law of thermodynamics violation. How can you have gas pressure without a container? If the sky was a vacuum, as this picture's alluding to, then the gas we're breathing would fill this space.
Familiar with it. That's NASA. You can go out to the NASA site. You can download the original, right?
Download the originals? No, you can't. The originals aren't real. They're all fake. Because it's claimed to be a picture from a sky vacuum. Yeah, I've just debunked that. No, it isn't like whether or not you can get credible downloads. It's about whether or not you can take pictures from sky vacuums. You can't. They aren't real. Anybody just pick up on the fact that we've just debunked the entire moon landing? Schlat. Bye-bye moon landing. Now, just for anybody out there that's just unfamiliar with this methodology, you can piss around talking about whether or not flags are flying in a sky vacuum. You can talk about whether or not they had errors and issues with the journey in a sky vacuum. You can talk about the rockets taking off from the ground and their weight and their distance and pushing off with thrust in a sky vacuum. Or you could just point out that it's a violation of natural law. We have entropy law. Yeah, gas expands to fill space. And what do you know? The area they claim this black area is around the sphere Earth taken from the moon is called space. What, a space for the gas to fill? Yeah, that's natural law. That's what it does. And that's what it would do if we were just suspended in a vacuum. We're not. Ergo, these pictures aren't real. And neither is the moon landing.
And how are they going to invoke orbital mechanics for flying these rocket ships into a place that doesn't exist without an R value to insert into the orbital mechanics?
Right, a weak-ass argument they used to have was that they managed to calculate the fuel rate. Not without R. Even that weak-ass claim that doesn't prove a damn thing is debunked, Neil deGrasse Tyson. You'll need R if you're going to claim presuppositional orbital motions and sky vacuums in violations of natural law to give you distances to calculate fuel for. You'll definitely need R for that. And we've debunked the R value. If the Earth was a sphere radius 3959, then every distance to the horizon could be no more than 1.2 times the square root of the observer's eye in feet, and we have imagery that shows the horizon beyond the geometric limitations of an Earth sphere radius 3959. Reaction from globe believers. It's refraction. Ergo, you cannot get or acquire a geometric measurement of a claim to be sphere with a claim to be sphere edge horizon that's not blocking things in the distance to give you geometric measurements of R. So you don't have an R. There's no way of measuring it. See my discussion on Charles' neutral channel where I left my mute button to make damn sure he was aware that he was lying when he told his audience, well, we don't really need R, after we debunked your methodology for measuring it. You definitely need it. You just can't use it if you can't measure it. So no, you're not going to calculate any travel to the moon based on fuel through a sky vacuum when we can debunk every aspect of the journey and the maths to claim the distance.
I already know what you're going to ask.
So you bring up the luminance on it, and you can see where it's cut out and pasted there.
They're showing us doctored images that are clearly doctored.
Who cares? You want to focus on the photography? Focus on the sky vacuum. Focus on the fact that the doctored imagery has to be doctored because they couldn't possibly have taken it from a sky vacuum. Don't just tell them it's doctored, because what does that prove or disprove? What, that somebody's fiddled with an image? Oh, you've proved that someone fiddled with an image. What about disproving whether or not it came from space?